Hello and welcome to the Outcast, the Not How to Train Your Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today we thought to ourselves, hey, we did an anime episode and we really enjoyed doing that one. So we said, let's visit another thing that belongs to our childhood and is still goes on today. Let's talk about Nickelodeon, more specifically the Nicktoons, which is the basically all the Nickelodeon animated shows that have aired over the years. Uh, we are not talking about the live action stuff from Nickelodeon. Maybe another time, not today. And also keep in mind, none of us has seen everything. So if we skip on something that you grew up with, we're sorry. But we have the stuff we watched, and you heard the stuff you watched. We'll share all of those experiences right now. But Wolf, before we begin talking about the shows, when were you first exposed to Nickelodeon?
Oh, man. What is their oldest show? Uh, 91, I think? So that would be. Yeah, going through the list we have, making sure. Yeah, 91, so that would probably be. I think the first stuff from them I saw was 91. Well, not 91. I can't watch the show and remember when. In the same year I was born
Yeah,
in.
you have some awesome memory if you can remember stuff from like 3 months old.
But like I was
Old.
definitely introduced to it when I was younger. Like I remember watching it when I was a lot younger, and I've seen like Ren and Stimpy and Rocco's Modern Life, right? Like I've seen those. So probably 94, 95, maybe. And then definitely I've watched a lot of those older shows when I got older as well, so I remember them too somewhat. Maybe not as much. So I think my first like real introduction of okay, I'm sitting down and like I actively can remember and I'm watching this is probably Hey Arnold. 97, 98 with Hey Arnold and stuff like that. Like that's my first big introduction and my first big
Yeah.
Nicktoon.
Okay, so for me, the thing is that we didn't really have Nickelodeon here until much later. Like we only got Nickelodeon as a channel in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Like until that point, there were a few selected Nicktoons that would air in other channels, but it wasn't that many of them. And like and we'll get to those specific shows when we get to them when we start going over it show by show. But the thing is that until 2003, I wasn't really aware of it, and then when it came out, I was aboard. I wasn't around. So when I came back, a lot of my friends told me, "Man, you gotta see some stuff from Nickelodeon. It's so funny, it's so great," and that's how I got caught up on SpongeBob mostly and other shows. But SpongeBob was easier to get into at that time because that was the only thing that they actually dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
So and but I had my share of fun with the other shows, and we'll get to this soon. But yeah, I was a bit late on the bandwagon because again, what can you do? Not on the US, not there when stuff is happening. But yeah, but Nickelodeon is still going strong. Like I would still go watch some of their shows. Like I can't recall something from Nickelodeon that I watch these days that's like on right now. But that's mostly because I don't really watch TV nowadays, and not a lot of shows. So it's nothing against the network specifically. It's just life, I guess.
You went silent there. I didn't know if you died or what.
No,
What a pause.
I was
Dramatic
thinking, okay,
pause for effect.
what is the word I'm looking for? What is the word I'm looking for? I don't think I found it. I found the right now one necessarily, but hey,
Fair enough, though.
okay. But shall we go over show by show? And we have a list here, so we're going by the
Mm-hmm.
order of the list.
You want to start with what's currently airing, or do you want to start with past
Uh,
Nicktoons?
you know what? Since we have four that are currently airing, let's get those out of the way. Okay, so
We
I
can't.
know we
We're
said
gonna wait. No,
we.
we can't. We're gonna save it till the end, just so we can hype it up, I guess, or just keep suspense. No one knows if we're ever going to talk about it. No one even knows what it is we're talking about right now. I say we only mention the first three and we wait for this one.
Okay, fair enough. So the Loud
Now you have
House,
to watch
I've
till
heard.
the end, ladies and gentlemen, to even have any idea what we're
Yeah,
talking about. You're welcome.
so the Loud House, I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. I just didn't get the chance to sit down and actually watch it,
What is
but
this
I've
one?
heard good things.
The Loud House. I don't think I've heard of this one at all, to be honest. Let me see.
I I heard good things about it. I just didn't have the time to sit down and check it out.
Yeah, I've definitely never seen this one. When I first read the title, I thought, "Oh, Proud Family." No, wait, that's a different thing, not the same thing. But yeah, this one
No,
I've never.
this was
Okay,
Disney, wasn't it?
the Proud Family. It might be Disney. Yeah, I think it is Disney. So the Loud House, yeah, I've definitely never seen or heard anything about. So I have no clue at all whatsoever about this one.
Okay. So next
I
up,
literally can't
by
say
the way,
much.
yeah, but let's also say that from this list, the only one I can actually say something is the thing we're going to talk about now. From the
Mm-hmm.
current stuff that airs right now on this list, we probably don't have much to say, aside
Mm-hmm.
from that one that we are keeping silent about. With that said, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love the Ninja Turtles. We'll get to this later in this podcast, but I will say that this specific incarnation didn't grab me this much. I love its art design. I love the animation and the action in it, but the characters themselves are a downgrade from past incarnations. It's not bad, but it's kind of misguided. I think that's a good word for it.
Sounds good. I've definitely not seen any of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so again, this is one I can't say too much about, unfortunately.
And again, I'm going by one episode. I didn't, and because it's and I didn't see any further episode because honestly, I'm just not that interested from what I saw. So, but if people like this incarnation, go them. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just some stuff about it grabbed me personally the wrong way.
That sounds fair.
With that said, Pinky Malinky. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, it's another one that we're really getting off to a great start with the Nickelodeon shows,
Well,
ladies and
these are the
gentlemen.
stuff that are currently
Yeah,
airing,
that's currently airing.
and we are both old,
Reading on it a
so
bit, this was produced for, apparently this was the first Nickelodeon show that was produced for Netflix and a streaming service. So this is mostly a Netflix thing, I guess. It seems okay looking at it. Probably not my thing looking at it as well. I don't know. Eh, I can't
um
say too much about it.
well, I have nothing. So let's
It,
move on
it
to the
does
stuff that
it does strike
it
me as
does.
a little bit interesting though that from the looks of it, there's only 4 currently running Nickelodeon cartoon shows or animated cartoon shows. That
Yeah,
strikes me as interesting.
yeah, that everything else is a rerun. Hmm.
Either that or they're just switched off of cartoons. It's like it strikes me as interesting, right? Like because cartoons used to be the big thing for Nick. Like all the again, it had its own name, Nicktoons. Like that's what you came to Nick for. Were the Nicktoons? The live action
Yeah.
stuff was secondary, if not even cared about at all, hardly half the time. Now it seems like
Yeah,
they're
I think
doing
also
way more
most of the
live
live action
action.
stuff, like most of the live action stuff, whenever we'll get to that, was also made by one guy.
Hmm. I did not know that.
So
It seems odd though that the live action stuff is a thing that it seems they're sticking to stronger now and not the Nicktoons. Maybe I'm just being an old man saying and grr change, but it strikes me as a bit odd that the place that became known for some of the best cartoon shows you could find, right? Isn't
Yeah.
doing that anymore, hardly.
Well, stuff change.
This is true.
There was a time where even Cartoon Network had live action shows. So
And looking at the future Nicktoons that are upcoming in this year and still to be announced, they do have a lot more on the table, right? Like we'll get to those in a bit too and mention a few of them.
yeah,
Like,
but because the list is long, let's
yeah, but yeah,
start with the Nicktoons that started it all, and we'll walk our way up the list. So
all
the
right,
first thing that shows up here is Doug.
yeah.
I never really cared for Doug.
So my memories of Doug are my older sister was a bit more into this one than I ever got into it. It was never my thing, but I do remember sitting down with her and watching it every now and again. And she enjoyed it, and I liked, don't tell her I said this, but it was kind of fun watching it with her.
Oh, Wolf's sister, I don't have her phone number, but hopefully she's reading your Discord whenever you're not on your laptop.
I mean, I definitely don't live with her. She has her own, house and life, and she's married and all of that stuff, so.
Hmm. It will be harder to track down, but okay,
Don't know
I'll
if she
keep
watches
that
the
in
show
mind.
either. She might. I don't know. I've never actually asked her or told her. I've told her I do it, but I don't know if she watches. If you're watching, hi.
Fair enough.
If you're not,
Mhm.
well, maybe one day you might see and hear this. I didn't say this though. But yeah, like I remember
Well, but Doug.
fond memories of it watching it with her, but otherwise it doesn't really stick out as something I completely enjoyed. It was a little strange, it was fun, but not my thing. It's not the show it's not the Nick show I really got into, right?
Yeah, it was never my thing as well. And it's not necessarily the fact that it was a slice of life show
Mm.
because we'll get some of those later down the road, and
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy those. But it was never my thing.
Yeah, which
I,
is fine.
mhm.
Like
But
this was definitely like Nick when it was still kind of figuring out cartoons, and this wasn't the greatest of cartoons, but it served its purpose and was decent enough, I think.
mhm.
But moving on.
And next up is Rugrats.
Now this one I did like and did watch quite a bit of and enjoyed.
Yeah. Now here's the stuff where people are starting to raise an eyebrow at me. I never cared for Rugrats.
Really,
Like I don't know. It was
eyebrows
just
raised. HC.
yeah. I know eyebrows raised, but it's like I get the concept that it's like babies when the adults aren't looking. It's like Toy Story but with babies. I
Mm-hmm.
get that, but at the same time, I don't know. Something about it. Maybe it was the animation style. Maybe it was something else. It never caught me. I don't know why.
Looking back at it,
And
it does
it's not
kind of
it's
give
not
a
like that.
weird
It,
dated effect to the animation, doesn't it?
yeah, but it's not necessarily that I I didn't necessarily boycott it. It was on. I would watch it, but it's like it wasn't something that when people talk to you about Nickelodeon, they say Rugrats was so good.
Oh
Rugrats
yeah.
was like the thing that put it on the man. It's like
No.
I don't know.
No.
I would watch other stuff before I would watch Rugrats, personally.
Mhm. It was fun. I think Rugrats made for good kind of, I guess you'd say background noise. Like if you want something to watch but not pay too much attention to, Rugrats did that for you, because Rugrats was never really a like story driven thing. There wasn't a huge ton of development that went into it. It felt like at times. Although I say that, like you had a bunch of stuff with some of the characters, like I remember like there's the whole big thing of Chaz getting married and Chucky now having a little sister and like making a like there was stuff there that was interesting, that was fun, but at the same time it was nothing that felt like major, like okay, this is a progressing storyline throughout everything, and you can kind of see all of that,
And
and it's fun.
but you don't necessarily need those.
No, no,
You
you don't.
don't need those in
And
a show.
Rugrats,
It's
and I think
just
Rugrats shows that, right? Like you don't need that, and it did just fine without it. It's not a show that I personally would write home about, but it's definitely a show that I don't mind and that I enjoyed, and that if you said, "Hey, you have a choice between watching Rugrats or something terrible, which one would you watch?" Rugrats.
yeah,
I'd pick Rugrats.
I would get right.
Like, for example, I have a choice
Have
between
you?
watching The Room and Rugrats.
No,
Obviously,
this
I'm
I
gonna
would choose
choose
the room.
Rugrats.
I
No,
would choose the
I'm gonna choose Rugrats
room.
because The Room is only fun. Yeah, let me put it this way: Can I watch The Room with friends? No. Okay. If I all right,
What
The
are you talking
Room.
about? You can. It's the
No, no,
get off your bills. It's the best
no,
night of your
no.
life.
What I'm saying is the Rugrats or The Room alone and sober. I'm choosing the Rugrats
Okay.
because The Room alone and sober not as fun.
hmm Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. One thing I will say about Rugrats, I remember watching the movie for it.
Yeah. There were a few movies
Um,
actually.
I know there are three. I saw the first and third. The third we'll get to later.
Reptar.
hmm I I remember watching. I remember watching the movie. I just remember that apparently it affected the show itself by giving Tommy a little brother.
Little Sister. Yeah, that's the one I
And
just talked about. Kimmy, I think her
no,
name
no,
was.
no, 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 no. You said
Oh,
Chucky.
yeah, yeah. Like I
I
think
meant
one of the
Tommy.
movies introduced Chucky's little sister though, Kimmy, and then Tommy got his little brother Dill, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, Dale. This was the first. This was what the first movie was about.
Dill Pickle. God, I can't remember. I can't believe I remember those names. I guess that shows kind
Yeah.
of how much the show did stick with me, even though it's not my favorite thing in the world, right?
Yeah, again, because I said I don't like it, it has its merits, and again, something did bring me back aside from having nothing else to do.
I mean,
But
that's the thing, though, right? Like, I think if I showed you an image of the characters, you could point them out, right? Like, you could sit back and say,
mhm.
okay, that's Angelica, that's Chucky, that's Dill, that's Tommy, that's Lil and Phil, I think it was, and Susie. Like, you can point them out. Like, they are very unique
And
designs that stick into your mind.
on that note, Angelica is a bitch.
I mean, you say that, but then you read. There are probably some people who only know Rugrats through that fan theory now. Like, just think about that, HC.
What fan theory?
The one where Angelica's imagined the kids being what they are.
Oh, I actually never
Oh
read that.
God, you're in for you're in for a treat that will make you
Okay.
go, "Oh God, the Rugrats was so depressing now."
There are tons of theories and urban
No,
legends
this is
about
a
cartoons these
very
days.
prolific one, I think. I think this one's the one where I mention it and everybody like all I have to say is that Rugrats theory, and I think a lot of viewers are going to immediately go, "Oh God," because that one's very prolific. Like that's the one that got shared around a ton, and just the one that took, I think, the most hold with the most people. But genuinely,
I'll
bro,
take.
we live in a
I'll take.
world where people
Uh,
probably only know the Rugrats through that theory. And yes, I
oh
will link it
well.
to HC, ladies and gentlemen, so he can read it later.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
It's
I was always interested in those kind of things.
oh god, you poor soul.
So should we move on to a show that I think created a lot of depressing lives because of how batshit insane it was? Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah,
This was insane, and I loved every second.
it was it was definitely different for cartoons.
Different.
I've never enjoyed those kind of like, hey, let's wacky, zany, insane humor. It's very. I've never gotten too into shows like that, but Ren and Stimpy was fun. It had its moments. Like it's definitely more off-color humor, black comedy, stuff like that. Like it's definitely one of those cartoon shows where it was very mature, quote unquote, for like a kids television show, right? For a kids cartoon show, but
Mhm.
it's also
This, but I think one of the things that I'll say about Ren and Stimpy that you said you are not really into these kind of shows, but at the same time, Ren and Stimpy kind of created this type
oh
of
yeah, like
show,
Ren
and
and Stimpy's one of the
and
first, if not
yeah,
the first.
I would even argue this is the first, and I would even argue that every show that tried to copy it kind of failed. And this is something that when you look back at it, you say, how did no one capture what worked about this, even though a lot of people tried, and there were some successes. I'm not saying there weren't, but at the same, you think there are, I'm not sure if they will be on this list, but people try to like get their own Ren and Stimpy at some point,
Oh yeah.
and and you know there, and I think and I can't really find a reason as to why nobody really got it.
What do you mean? Like no one's ever been able to copy it? I guess you'd say like copy the success of, or what?
No, because when you see Ren and Stimpy, like you see Ren and Stimpy and how bad shit it's saying it is and everything, and you laugh. For the
Mm-hmm.
most part, you laugh. But then, like, whenever you see something that was considered at the time a Ren and Stimpy ripoff, like, closest thing I can think of is like Disney's Schnookums and Meat, I think it was called. And you look at it and it's like, oh wow, that's terrible. Even though it's a Ren and Stimpy clone, so it's like, what works with Ren and Stimpy that didn't work with everything else that tried to capture it?
Well, I think right. I don't know about Schnookums and meat, so I have no clue. Never even heard of it before until now.
Watch all you need to do. I didn't hear about it myself. Check out the Nostalgia Critics review about of the Disney Afternoon. He talks about it for a bit.
Cool. Okay. I think right. Like when you talk about Ren and Stimpy, I think the reason a lot of those Ren and Stimpy like clones, I guess you'd say, are trying to ape the idea of the show didn't work is because Ren and Snippy, you know, it focused on that, off color humor, that black comedy. That was its focus. That was where its focus lied in. That's why, a lot of people say, like, it kind of paved the way for things like Beavis and Butthead and South Park, especially, right? Some people say South Park wouldn't necessarily have made it the way it did if Ren and Stimpy hadn't have come first. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. Like, there's definitely some arguing you could do there, right? But South Park did survive. South Park's done extremely well, and that's because it understood, like, the goal here isn't to make something that is appealing to children. The goal here is to make something that, yeah, sure, your child can watch this, but it's really meant for adults. It's meant for an older audience. It's meant for teenagers and adults who can watch this and actually understand what's being made fun of and where the cynicism is coming from.
Speaking of which, I have how the hell my mother watched this as a kid.
Do what? You broke up a little bit.
No, I said I have no clue how my mother allowed me to watch this as a kid.
Because a lot of parents, like I watched it when I was a lot younger too, and I don't think, and a lot of parents just saw it, oh, it's a cartoon, and like, there's always that stigma of, oh, cartoons are for kids. There's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go
Hmm.
back and see a ton of old cartoons, like I think Ren and Stimpy was the most obvious about it, the most like blatant, like, okay, that's blatantly sexual innuendo when you go back and watch it as an older person.
Yeah.
But there
Hmm.
are other cartoons that do the same thing. Like you can see a lot of the old Disney cartoons, right? They have some of those same jokes. They're just,
And Looney Tunes too.
yeah, especially Looney Tunes, right? Like there's a lot of those same jokes there as well. They're just more, I guess you'd say, subtle about it. They're not as blatant. Like they try and hide it more, but it is there.
Hmm.
Like you can go back and say, okay, that's definitely sexual innuendo. That's definitely you kind of making fun of, dicks or vagina, stuff of that nature. Like, yeah, okay, we see what you're doing there now. We didn't when we were younger, but we get it now. And it's like, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think, right, like, a lot of kids got away with watching the Ren and Stimpy show because parents didn't think back then. It's like, oh, cartoon, that's fine, it's cute. When they actually sat down to watch it, they realized, oh my god, what am I doing letting my kid watch this show? Then again, maybe some parents
Yeah.
didn't care.
We'll get to one of those shows later. But okay, so Ren and Stimpy, I like it
Yeah,
for
it's
what it
fun.
is.
It's definitely fun. I definitely like. I think I appreciate it more now going back as an adult than I did when I was younger. It's still, again, I'm not huge into those into black comedy, off-color humorous type shows. Like they've never really caught me. Mostly because I think I'm more interested in story and characters, and a lot of them just say, "This is meant for laughs. This is us being very cynical about the world and laughing at that cynicism."
Hmm.
Because it's way
Yeah.
too sad otherwise, so we have to laugh. No. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Before we close, Ren and Stimpy, to say that apparently there was a rumor going around. Like one of the biggest things about this show, the biggest questions was if Ren and Stimpy were actually gay. And the creator's reaction to that question is one of my favorite reactions from any type of creator ever. Because when he was asked if Ren and Stimpy were gay, he just said, "I don't know. It's none of my business."
Fair enough.
That's an awesome response, and if I'll ever get famous, I should answer like that as well. So moving on to kind of like Ren and Stimpy, but a bit less insane. Rocco's Modern Life.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about any windows? This is
Oh,
the show
yeah.
where the main character worked at a hotline.
Mm-hmm. Another one of those, hey, this is a kid's show, but it's actually meant for adults.
Hmm.
Like, this
Like
one... This one
this
was...
one was
Oh,
this
go
one
ahead.
was insane. This was an insane as well, but
Wait,
it did have a bit more of a
this one was
it.
more story and character driven, I guess, because again, it's meant to be just, hey, this is Rocco's modern life. This is literally just this character, Rocco, a wallaby, just trying to survive everyday life. That's it. That's literally it. That's all there is to it. And I guess in a way, like, and it takes a much more adult look at things, right? Like, it's very much surviving life coming from an adult's perspective and trying to place that into a more kid friendly manner and more kid friendly way of storytelling and more kid friendly, type of show, right? Like it's a veneer of kid friendly when it's really not. And like you can see that with some of the older Nicktoons, like there's quite a few that are like that, where it's kid friendly, but it's kind of not. But these two are definitely like Ren and Stimpy show and
But
Rocco's Modern Life are the two that really stand out as
my
odd things.
the episode I remember most is that one of Rocco's friends was trying to be a dentist,
Mm-hmm.
and like he's performing an operation on Rocco live in front of an audience, and then when the tooth gets out, it becomes enormous and goes on a rampage through the city, and it's like, huh?
Yeah, it's weird, and it's another one that I think I appreciate more going back to now. When I was younger, I never quite got all that into it, and even now, it's not inherently my thing. I feel, but I definitely appreciate it more going back now, though. But definitely an interesting one, just like with Ren and Stimpy. Like it definitely,
That same there's a foot with a face
yeah,
that talks to you.
yeah, yep.
I mean, who came up with this? Honestly, who came up with the idea? Let's just put a foot with eyes and nose and a mouth and make it talk. Like, what is this? YouTube? I have no idea who came up with this, but I just remember watching this. It cracked me up.
Joe Murray. He's done a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah. Also, another apparently Ronco's Modern Life is getting not remastered. It's a getting a reboot or a revival. Like,
We'll
like
see.
from what I've heard, it's coming back.
All I can say to that is we'll see.
Hmm.
I definitely think it, hmm, it'd be interesting to see if they can pull it off again, right? Because it definitely, I think, was a product like Ren and Stimpy. I think Rocco's Modern Life was a product of its time somewhat, and you will have to change it a lot to fit in today's time. And that's not because like, oh, we're trying to be more PC. No. Or we're trying to be more, things of that nature. No, that's nonsense. Get out of here with that nonsense. I think you have to change it because again, times have changed, right? Jokes that might have been acceptable or common back during the early 90s aren't anymore. And for good reason too, right? But I don't think Rocco's Modern Life or Ren and Stimpy made use of a lot of those jokes. Again, it's been a long time. But again, I do think you'd have to change a lot in order to get it set up properly. But I do think there's a lot you could do with it. I'm curious if my big thing is I'm curious if the Nick now can do another Rocco's Modern Life now, right?
Well, again, they're trying to revive it, so we'll have to
But I
wait
mean,
and
like
see.
you get what I'm saying, though, right? Like looking at
Like
what
another
Nick,
show like this.
yeah, can they do it? Can they pull that off and do it well, right? Like it's easy to just go back and say, "Hey, this was popular. Let's do this again," and not get why it was popular, right?
Okay, I get what you mean, and again, we'll have to wait and see.
True.
Um, so moving, so again, I enjoyed Rocko's Model. I just again keep in mind that it's also been years since I've last
Yeah.
watched anything from these shows.
I mean, it
So
ended in '96, so you're talking about an old show, over 20 years old as well.
yeah,
God, I
but
feel old.
yeah, same here. But next up is basically the prequel to Monsters Inc. Are real monster.
Another one that I remember watching a little bit of, but not a lot. And another one that I also didn't really get into.
I remember enjoying it from when I saw it, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't always on, and I
Mm-hmm.
think whenever it was on, I would usually be in school,
Mm-hmm.
so it was only during holidays, and it's something that I couldn't always watch it. So, but when I did, it was fine. I recall enjoying it.
It was something. The designs are definitely memorable. I'll give it that.
Yeah, yeah, I do like the design. Um, so nothing else about Ariel Monsters?
Like this one's definitely one that I watched probably very little compared to Rocco's Modern Life or Ren and Stimpy, and it definitely doesn't stick out in my head other than the designs, right? Like if you showed me a design from the show, I could definitely probably say I remember that. I don't know if I could tell you the name of the character or the name of the show it came from, but I definitely remember the designs. I know what they come from and what they are. But other than that,
Okay.
it doesn't stick out.
Hmm. Okay. So with that said, kablam.
One that I do not remember at all. Like I have no
I
clue
what?
about this one.
Okay, I watched this. I watched that one a lot, and I have some stuff to say. Oh no.
Okay.
I have some stuff to say about it. So what I will say is that it was kind of a show that combined different animation styles. Something will be traditionally animated, some will be clay animation, some
I
will
see
be
that
like
now looking it up.
yeah, and there will be like these two characters doing like skits in between to like connect everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember the skits being funny. Like I remember the like Action League now, which was like it was like all these action figures we would play with, being superheroes and stopping the corporate mayor from taking over. Oh, Man, the one I love the most is it was like a series of sketches called Prometheus and Bob, which is like an alien called Prometheus coming over to teach a caveman Bob how to handle himself. So like he would try and tell him how to like cross a bridge, only for Bob to not get it. So like he will try to tell him like, "There's rain. You sleep in a tent, not outside," and all sorts of shenanigans would happen. And I always found it funny. Like it was legit funny. I need to look those up again. I just remember it was fun. Actually, now I don't. I remember again. I remember the basic concept. I can't tell you though specific things that happened. There was what else was there? Um, there was something like with a girl, Lily, I think her name was, which is like a cardboard show. But there was one point where she played bowling with an actual human being. There was a lot of stuff. It was insane, and I think full episodes are not available, just the sketches. But if you can look the sketches up on YouTube or something, do it. They're fun.
Fair enough. Definitely a lot more to say about it than I would have been able to.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, we are starting to get to the stuff I saw here,
Yeah, we're starting to
and
get to the
next
stuff
up,
that we definitely probably have way more of an idea about.
and this is something I hope you saw. Hey
Oh yeah.
Arnold.
I mean, I did say like I think this is one of the first Nicktoons I ever actually watched growing up. But yeah, Hey Arnold, this one's definitely probably way more on many people's mind, and many more people have watched and know about. Good old football
Mm-hmm.
head.
Yep. I remember a friend recommended this show to me. Like everyone was talking about other stuff, that was on, and then one of my friends was like, "Hey, watch Hey Arnold," and I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I was, you know, I liked it for what it was. Some episodes are depressing as fuck. I will tell you that much. Looking at the episode where his grandfather finally tells them what happened to his parents,
Mm-hmm.
like why they're not around.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you?
About
Stuff you remember from Hey Arnold, like specific episode or something.
specific episode. It's been so long. I don't know if I remember anything specific, but I definitely I remember the characters. I remember what it's about, and it's just kind of like it's definitely kind of a slice of life thing as well about this kid
Mm-hmm.
living in kind of like this New Yorkish area, and kind of inner city stuff, and just kind of being a kid in that time and just learning to fit in and kind of make your way in the world and figure out who you are, stuff like that. It's definitely slice of life and just following these characters and kind of them figuring out a lot of different stuff about themselves and who they are and where they fit in the world, and just having fun with one another and getting along and everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
again, a show that I think has very uniquely designed characters. Like if you showed one of these characters, not Arnold specifically, but like one of the other characters, right? Like even one of the side characters, if you show someone a picture of them, I think they'll immediately get who it is, right?
mhm.
Like you can.
Have you
Oh, go ahead.
have you seen the movie?
No, I have not. There's two of them actually, but no, I've not seen either of them.
I'm talking about the '90s one.
That doesn't help narrow it. You mean Hey Arnold the movie, or do you mean Hey Arnold the
Yeah,
Jungle movie?
no. The Jungle movie. I'll get the just the movie.
No, I've not seen either of them. To be specific, if I have, I
Hmm.
don't remember.
Um, I watched both, and
Okay.
the movie I remember like there was advertisement for it when they want to air it on TV here, And I was like, "Oh, hey Arnold, the movie, that's cool. I'll watch it." And then the morning it aired, something happened, and I couldn't watch it. So I came back and I watched a rerun of it in the evening, and I remember enjoying it despite not being all that loved, but I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was fun for what it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
And but speaking of Hey Arnold episodes, there was one episode that annoyed me so much, and then I found out that even the creator of the show doesn't like that episode.
Hmm.
The episode in question is called Arnold Betrays Iggy. And so there's
repeat
this
re-
guy named
repeat
Iggy.
that again, please.
The episode's name is Arnold Betrays Iggy.
You broke up at the last word. But yeah, Arnold betrays
Iggy.
Iggy. Yeah, there you go. Arnold
Yes.
betrays Iggy.
Yeah, so like it's an episode to give the audience the basic gist to those who don't remember. Like Arnold finds out that his friend Iggy likes to sleep in bunny pajamas, and and apparently one day two of their friends gonna guess it out of the blue and start making fun of him, and Iggy kind of blames Arnold for spreading the secret, even though he didn't do anything. When you think about it, he didn't tell, they just guessed. It was a lucky guess. And then Arnold apologizes up and down for Iggy to forgive him, and Iggy doesn't forgive him until Arnold puts on a bunny suit in front of the entire city, in front of a news crew, and
Mm-hmm.
then the episode ends with Arnold hating Iggy. That episode was so off-putting,
Mm-hmm.
and again, even the creator of the show doesn't like it. So I guess that means something.
Hmm. I suppose so.
And also, I love that Helga has a shrine for Arnold in her back.
Yeah, I
Like,
remember that.
talk about admire, about having a crush on on someone at school. This was oh, and there was always the script that would show up behind her. Whenever she talked about Arnold, I loved the guy. He's a creep, but the fact that he's always there is hilarious.
Yeah, agreed. The audience just heard me cough. I don't think you did, but the audience did, so that probably peaked the mic really bad. So sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't hear it,
Yeah, I know
but if
you
you say
didn't.
so,
I
you say.
forgot to mute the recording software, but I muted Discord. That's my bad. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh well. So yeah, and on that note, I might mention the Jungle V, which you said you didn't see, right?
I've not seen either of the Hey Arnold movies.
Okay, so again, to set it up, to those who don't know, Hey Arnold originally ended on a cliffhanger,
Mm-hmm.
which Arnold supposedly finds a map to where his parents went to, and the movie is about that trip. They actually go. It's kind of like a class trip
Mm-hmm.
that gets them there, and without giving too much away, there is an explanation as to what happened to there is an explanation as to what happened to Arnold's parents. There is a lot of stuff are coming full circle, and we finally have confirmation that Arnold's last name is officially Shortman.
Cool.
That's in the movie. That's in the movie. When he files for his passport, he's actually writing down Arnold Shortman. His grandfather refers to him by his last name. Also, in
Cool.
that movie, he finally finishes fifth grade, like about time.
True. Took him, what, 6 years, I think?
Well, Bart Simpson is still in the fourth grade after like almost 30 years.
This is true.
Anything else about Hey Arnold?
Uh, no, not really. Like, it's definitely an old Nicktoon, and I think it's another one of those old Nicktoons that stands out as something that
Mm-hmm.
everyone watched and everyone kind of looks back on fondly, and with good reason, right? And I'm the same way. It's
Yeah.
definitely been a while. There's not a lot I can point to say, yeah, I remember everything that's happened here. I can remember bits and pieces, But I think the big thing is it's another one of those animated shows where I think the characters are you, even though they're very like, hey, these are just like you look at the characters and they're very plainly designed. They're very simple designs, I guess you would say, right? But they're
Hmm.
still unique enough that you can remember them. Like I said earlier, like if you
Yes.
showed someone an image of one of the characters that aren't even main characters from the show, they would probably be able to immediately point out that's from that show. They may not be able to tell you the name of the character, but they can definitely point out the name of the show, I bet. And I think
Hmm.
that says something.
Yeah.
What it
Well,
says, who
next up, and
knows? Maybe you'll disagree, but I think it definitely says something.
yeah.
So next up.
Okay, next up, another show I watched a lot, The Angry Beavers.
This one I watched a bit of. I didn't get as into this one, but it was definitely fun.
Me and some of my friends loved this show.
Yeah,
Like,
it's definitely a fun
I
show.
I don't remember much of it now because I haven't watched it in years. But when I watched it, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like there was an episode where they it was raining outside, so they had a staring contest, and apparently the staring contest got so intense that they were on the news because of it. But when they were on the news, their eyes all, like shut shut for a long period of time, so they couldn't see themselves on TV. That's so depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember there was there was an episode where they found out their mother is a secret agent. There was another episode where they kind of explained that they need to like chew on something, on any kind of wood or something, that so that their teeth wouldn't grow that much. And then one day, the old one, I think his name was Norbert. Yeah, Norbert and Daggett. So
Mm-hmm.
Norbert stops chewing, and his teeth get longer. And then at the end, they kind of like Daggett tries to follow him, but then they just the teeth starts trapping them. And then there was an episode where they had a contest on who can talk more without actually using their mouths. It was an insane show, but I remember really loving it.
Yeah. It definitely like stands out as a fun show. Sorry, I'm not able to say much on this. And again, it's been a long time, and it's definitely one that I didn't get as
Okay,
into, and only watched.
but
I didn't
there are
watch
a
as
lot of
much of.
stuff to go over. So let's
Yeah,
if
definitely
you
a fun show that I can remember some of that I
please
definitely
tell
remember the
me,
characters.
yes, and please tell me you have something to say about Cat Dog.
Nope, never heard of it. No,
No,
I've seen Cat Dog.
no,
I've seen Cat Dog.
I
I
you
was
saw
joking.
Cat Dog.
Yes, I've seen Cat
Oh,
Dog. I've seen all of Cat Dog. Cat Dog is one that I
oh
actually
my.
got into. I actually really enjoyed Cat Dog. This was a great
Cat
show.
Dog, what? And Cat Dog is one of those shows that
Also saw
I
the
watched.
movie for this one too.
The one with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Cat Dog is a great show.
Like, the thing about it is that I loved this as a kid, and again, this is one of those shows I would watch with my friends, and we would always enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that caught me is that when I looked back at it years after the fact, years after it was off the air and everything, and you look at it, this is basically a show about two brothers that the entire world hates because they're different.
Yeah.
This show was mean spirited as hell, but
Oh yeah.
something, I kind of love it for it.
Like again, it's another one of those kind of slice of life shows, but it's about these two characters, cat dog. Literally, that's their name, cat and dog. I think.
Yeah,
Like they
these
don't
are the
have
names.
like actual names, but so they're just referred to as what they are. They're a cat and dog that are
There,
conjoined.
no, there's actually an episode where uh, cat tells dog, "I think that a little dog whose name is Dog." It's wow. This is this is one way to refer to you.
But yeah, it's definitely kind of a slice of life show for them, and their life isn't great sometimes. Like they're kind of they have to.
Sometimes their life is freaking depressing. What are you talking?
Well, no, but I
There's
mean,
an
it's
episode.
you.
No, no,
You
no.
say
There's
it's
an episode.
Go ahead.
Dude, there's an episode where they like go on vacation, and all of the people that beat them up and torture them are like sad that they're gone. And then as soon as cat dog come back home from a vacation, they're like, "Oh, you're back. We're so glad to see you. Now we're going to beat you up." Wait.
Again, though, I think right, like for them, I think the big thing to point out is like, yeah, it's rough, yeah, it's depressing, but yet they persevere through all of that, right? Like it's the big thing of like there are still moments of genuine like niceness there, genuine good things that happen in their lives, stuff like that. And like it's very kind of hopeful in a way, I guess you'd say, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that caught me, right? Was yeah, they have a shitty life, but yet they keep going through all of that, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, it is
I
kind
enjoyed
of.
that part of it,
Uh,
right? A very hopeful thing. Like things
mhm,
suck, but hopeful.
mhm. Speaking of the movie that parents, am I the only one who thought it was a bit of a cop out?
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I don't remember inherently liking it. Like I think it was a little bit meh.
The thing is,
Like thinking about it.
the movie is referred to as the Great Parents Mystery,
Yeah.
and cat dog are looking for their parents,
Mm-hmm.
which they find like this Bigfoot type creature and a frog type creature,
Mm-hmm.
and like they find them and they tell them like, yeah, we raised you, but we have no idea where you're from, and it's like it's the I looking back, this was a cop out. I think, and
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to. Not you're not always going to have the answers to what you're looking for,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like you went the extra mile to give these guys parents. Might as well just go all the way with it.
True.
But other than that, I really enjoyed Cat Dog for all the insanity that it was.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely fun. It was definitely
Mhm.
enjoyable, and there was a lot of good stuff there. I feel like it's definitely one of those things I look back on very fondly. Like I watched a lot
Yeah.
of.
By the way, this is one of when we talked about parents. This is one of those shows that my mother would occasionally catch me watching because it was on right before school,
Mm-hmm.
and when and like she was very on and off with that show, like like because I think it's like the in at the center of your show is a creature that's half cat half dog.
Mm-hmm.
You need to come into this with a certain mindset
Oh
apparently.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely agree. Like, check a few things at the door and then come in and you'll probably enjoy it. Otherwise, no, you're probably not going to have as much fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, there was an episode that kind of traumatized me. That
Oh boy.
apparently you can cut your own butt in this universe. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was an episode where Cat decides that he doesn't want to be attached to dog anymore,
Oh yes,
so
that episode.
he finds a butt in a store that belongs
Mm-hmm.
to someone else, and like when, on the last second they back away, and apparently there's there was a sale in that store, like you get two butts for the price of one, and the guy Cat wanted to change with actually got two butts now, and it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
That episode kept me awake for weeks.
I mean, sure. But yeah, like I said, like it's definitely like check a few things at the door, then come in and you'll probably enjoy it. Like
Yeah,
definitely
but
some weird
I want.
stuff going on for this one too.
Mhm. Next up,
Probably a
the
common
what?
theme with
Yeah,
a lot of Nicktoons. Weird stuff going on. Very insane.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
next up, the wild thornberry.
You go first. Did you watch this one?
I watched it, every now and again, but it's kind of sad that the one thing I can tell you about this show is the commercial. Okay, the commercial
Mm-hmm.
for it. I'm not sure if
Okay.
this was the I'm not sure if this was the commercial for the US as well, because when I saw it, the commercial was obviously in Hebrew, but it's like basically the commercial is there's a giraffe and there's a monkey, and not animated, like actual giraffe and monkey. Are you with
Oh,
me so far?
yeah.
And the giraffe tells the monkey like, "Say, monkey, do you watch Nickelodeon?" And he said, "Do you think so? It's a kids channel." And he's like, "Yeah, but there's this show, The Wild Thornberries." And the monkey is like, "The show with that girl." And it's like, "Yes." "What? Do you watch it? It's a kids show." And it's like, "Yeah, but she's talking to animals." And the monkey is like, "Yeah, right." And they kind of give the basic idea that it's a girl that goes on adventures in the jungle, in the wild and stuff. And then he mentions to the monkey that the girl's best friend is a monkey. And the monkey then like gets excited, and he recommends the people at home to watch this show because even monkeys like that show, not just kids.
Mm-hmm. Interesting commercial.
That
Definitely
was
didn't see
the
it.
that was, and me and one of my friends at the time, we would quote this commercial day in, day out. We loved it. And the thing is, I think we loved it so much that we forgot to actually watch the show it was advertising. But what can you do sometimes?
Mm-hmm. About the actual show, though.
Um, I recall watching it. I watched an episode here and there. I recall it being fine. I also remember that had a movie as well. I recall, and then
Yeah.
and I also remember there was that's something I mentioned before. There was a Rugrats crossover movie.
That I don't remember at all.
I I remember going into a DVD library one day, and there was like I remember seeing the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberries on the cover, and even though I didn't really care for it, I'm like, okay, you got me interested. I'm going to rent this. Let's see where this goes. And like basically, the plot is that Tommy Pickles is a big fan of the show that the kid from the Wild Thornberry's father makes. He's
Yeah.
a fan of the show, and they like kind of go on a cruise to meet him on one of his adventures or something.
Ah. Okay.
Something like this.
A neat little crossover thing, I suppose.
Hmm. I watched it once as a kid, but I think it was fine as far as I remember.
So yeah, it shocks me, right? The show is old enough that there are probably some people who only know about this show, or probably don't even know about the show. They just know about the meme, right?
The with the father.
Yeah, with Nigel and putting his face on just about anything, and with the
Yeah,
smashing thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's
That was Tim Curry.
yeah, yep.
Mm,
Another one of those Tim
Well,
Curry classic characters. I mean, Tim
wow.
Curry's always a
Anyway,
fun character, a fun actor, right? Especially when
a
he
fun
like,
character. Yeah, he's a character.
I mean, yeah,
He's
that's
not an
that
actor.
actually, yeah, he is a character in a way. Like he very much is a character. Like he's always over the top, and he scene eats hard sometimes. So yeah, and I think this was one of those times where he kind of chewed the scene a lot, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember watching a
Okay.
lot of Thornberries. Thornberries was fun, and for those who may not have seen it, Thornberry stars the Thornberry family, mostly Eliza, and the fact that she has an ability
To
who,
talk to animals,
to talk to animals. It allows her to talk to
which
animals,
she
and
loses in the movie
mm-hmm,
for a period of time.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a little thing. Like I think this was just made because hey, Doctor Doolittle's popular. Let's do a thing from that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it works. It's a fun little show. Nothing particular amazing about it, but I think it's good fun. I don't think you'll
Yeah.
go wrong with it.
again, it works what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure, like, if you tell me people are still fans of this, I'm like, yeah, I can see why.
yeah, yep, agreed.
So next up, something that I recall enjoying, but looking back, it has no merit to it. Rocket Power.
Yeah, like when I was younger and watched it, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really good. Looking back, it's kind of meh, but
Like, because the thing about this show is all the sport. When
yeah,
you take that
it's
one
extreme
out,
sports. It's surfing, skateboarding, anything that's extreme sports, sport X sports, all of that stuff. It's just, hey, we're having fun doing all of these different extreme sports, and that's it. That's literally it.
yeah.
And it's just every episode is revolving around, these four kids just kind of trying out different sports and just getting into different stuff.
Yeah, and it's fine, I guess. I haven't watched any years, but
No, I haven't either.
I think there's a reason. There's probably why I don't remember anything from it, with the exception of the extreme stuff.
Yeah, like it's not something that I think would stand out immediately in your mind. Like again, I think it's one of those well-designed animated shows where if you show anyone an image of the characters, they'll immediately know where it's from, right? Like the characters are memorable. That doesn't necessarily mean the show is amazing, but I do say like the animation is memorable. But yeah, it's not something that I think stands out, but fun, right? Nothing to write. Again, not one of those shows I'd write home about, but definitely one of those shows that if you said I'm interested in this, I would say yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. It's fun. It's nothing amazing, but I think you could find worse stuff to spend time with, right?
Yeah, most likely. So moving on, as told by Ginger, I might have seen an episode or two, but I
So
didn't from it.
I think this is another one that I kind of watched a bit with my older sister, right? Like she actually got into this one a bit. And this one was oh man. Yeah, like when early 2000s, she kind of got into this one a bit too, and she kind of got me into it a bit. I remember enjoying it and liking it. It was fun. That's about it. Like it's not something that stands out of my mind, not something that I inherently got into. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it's not something I can say a ton about.
So
Like if
yeah,
you're into
so
it, great.
I can't really say anything about it as well. Like I may have watched an episode or two, but it's not something that stuck with me.
It's not something that really stuck with me either. So I can't say too much about it, unfortunately.
So with that said, let's talk about something I'm sure you saw and I saw. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. Mom and Dad. Okay, I'm not going to sing the entire thing. Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
One of those shows that started off great and then started going downhill.
I don't know about that part. I stopped watching it long before then, I think. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun.
Okay, so interesting thing about Fairly Odd Parents. Remember when I said that it took Nickelodeon a lot of time to get here, and for a while some shows aired on different channels before we had Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Fairly Odd Parents was one of those shows. But the thing is that it aired only subtitled. There was no dub. And that was the case for the first 5 seasons of the show. We had them on another channel. And then, starting with season 6, Fairly Odd Parents moved to Nickelodeon because, it's a Nickelodeon property, so makes more sense to air it on Nickelodeon. But again, only subbed, no dub. And then at one day, some dub producer came out of absolutely fucking nowhere and said, "You know what? We need to dub Fairly Odd Parents now." And the people said, "Okay, but wait a minute. We only have the rights for season 6 and onward. We can do the previous. We can dub the previous." So then one of the dubbing producers of the channel that owned the rights to the early seasons came out of fucking nowhere and said, "You know what? We need to dub Fairly Odd Parents. Let's do this." And so Fairly Odd Parents has two dubs over here, and you want one for the first 5 seasons and the other for everything else. And you want to know the ironic part? The
Mm-hmm.
Nickelodeon dub sucks
Oof.
so much.
Ouch.
If you if you want proof to why it sucks so much, Cosmo is voiced by a girl. Do I need to say anything else?
Mm-hmm.
That confirms that no, I don't need to say anything. Let's just talk about the show. So
Okay.
I really like the show at the start. Like I can tell you, I love the episode where they go into the video game.
Mm-hmm.
I love the episode where Timmy goes into the internet to stop an embarrassing love letter from getting to Trixie.
Mm-hmm.
I I remember there was an episode where Timmy turns into a girl, and he actually starts becoming good friends with Trixie. To the point he thinks he kind of knows what to say to her once he's a boy again, and then no. But what else? There was this Cupid that was voiced by Tom Kenny. I remember him. He was holding a date show for Cosmo to replace Wanda or something. There are a lot of stuff I remember about this.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I think the movies where it's him taking on Vicky, who's started ruling the world later, right?
Yeah, one of the movies. I don't remember which one was it. Was about Vicky ruling the universe. You're
And like,
right.
and you had future Timmy coming back to help past Timmy stop that from ever happening. You had the
Yeah.
movie where Crocker finally caught, one of the fairies, right?
hmm
And that was a big to do
Well,
thing.
there was an episode where we found out that Cosmo and Wanda were actually the fairy godparents of Bill Gates.
Yeah, that was a strange one.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, you had all of that stuff going on, and like, I remember from that movie where Crocker finally caught one of the fairies, right? Like he caught Wanda, and Cosmos like goes off and mopes a bit, and then through that moping starts training up and becomes like, really hugely buff to take on Crocker.
Yeah.
Like again,
hmm
there was a lot of fun nonsense from this show, right? And it was enjoyable fun nonsense. And I think a
Okay.
lot of people attribute that to Butch Hartman. Like, I think you'll
Yeah.
hear, like
Before he went insane.
when you look back at a lot of old Nicktoon stuff, I think Butch Hartman is the name you're gonna hear a lot of, right?
We'll get to something he made later on.
Yeah.
But
But I mean,
the
again,
thing
like a
about
lot of
Fairly
the
Odd
stuff he
Parents,
touched on old Nick was really good, and Fairly Odd Parents was one of those things.
mhm. But speaking of Fairly Odd Parents, we kind of need to talk about the downfall. I think, which everybody says that it was supposed to end after season six. Season
Hmm.
six was supposed to be the final one,
But it got
and
really
then
popular during that time too, though.
and then Nickelodeon decided to renew it
Yeah.
for a seventh season,
Yeah.
and that's when they brought in Poof.
Yeah, the Fairly Odd Parents child, the Fairly Odd Baby.
Yeah, yeah, the
I
Fairly Odd
remember that
Baby.
now.
I remember enjoying the special where Poof was introduced, but later on I was kind of like, why do we need Poof in here? Honestly, like there was no reason to have Poof around. It was there was they he gave some plot options, but other than that, eh.
Yeah, we should also talk about something else. Another movie that was a fairly odd movie.
Oh, you talk about the live action one.
Yeah.
I only saw the first one. It was
Yeah.
terrible, and
Yeah.
I know there are two more. I
There
know there are two
are?
more.
Oh god, I didn't even know there were two more.
I know there are two more. I never saw them though. I
I'm
just saw the
reading it
first
now.
one.
There are two more. He's not lying, ladies and gentlemen. There really are. Dear God.
one one is about Christmas apparently.
I see. Yes, one is a Fairly Odd Christmas, the other is a Fairly Odd Summer. Dear God, there are two more, ladies and gentlemen.
I remember
This world is cursed.
sent me somebody sent me a picture of Drake Bell sitting in a classroom with the Timmy Turner outfit, and I was like,
Mm-mm.
no way this is real. This is an April Fool's. Somebody at Nickelodeon is trolling us. That's and then I found out it's real, and oh my god.
That movie was definitely something else. I remember seeing a bit of the first one, that was it, and it was something else.
I saw the entirety of the first one,
You poor soul.
and I got a few laughs out of it,
I think that's all
unintentional
it's
maybe,
good
but
for.
the fucking movie starts with Timmy Turner waking up at his birthday, and there are pirates breaking into his room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take it as you will.
Yeah. 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 That's all you can say. Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Tootie, who is like ugly and nerdy and everything, she grew up to be hot. Can you be more cliche than that?
I mean, it's just moving on.
Moving on,
Live
we
action movies
have
not good. Fairly Odd Parents, fairly good until it gets to
until a certain point.
Yeah.
I heard the final season was terrible, but
Heard the same
we'll not
thing.
get into that. Mm-hmm. Well, next up, a show that I did enjoy a lot, Invader Zim.
So this one I never got into. It was very, I don't know, maybe it's just one I never really got into. Like a lot of the humor I felt was very like gross out humor most of the time.
I just love the concept that this is basically a show where you're focusing on the villain. The villain is your protagonist.
Yeah, like that is interesting.
I love that.
Like the idea is following Zim around, and Zim wants to take over the world, and he is evil, hands down.
Mm-hmm. And there's an episode I love where I don't remember the name of the kid that tries to expose Zim. I don't remember his name, but like he managed to like get a camera set up in Zim's house, and every time he wants to show like the army what's going on in Zim's house, like every time Zim is about to discuss his next evil plan, something goes wrong. Either the camera, the recorder doesn't work, or something at Zim's house is not working. There was just something about this, and I remember loving that episode so much.
It's also, I think, a show that stars. It's basically all based around this character's, short person complex, right? Like that's his entire thing. Like, it's also like Zim's entire race of people believe like if you're tall, then you're also very respectable.
Yeah,
the taller you are, the more respectable
there's an episode where he actually almost manages to conquer the world, but that kid stops him, and he's like telling his race like a minor setback. Don't worry, I will take over the world. And when his transmission ends, they laugh at him.
Yeah,
like he's bullied for all intents and purposes.
A lot. Like this is another one of those kind of depressing shows, very dark shows as well, right? Where it's like the main character is very much never really catches a break ever.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think it's just something I never really got into. Again, like shows like that, I guess just aren't my thing. Right?
Okay. Fair enough.
Like again, like if you enjoyed it, I think it is a fun show for the most part. I think there's some good stuff there, and I think it's well animated.
One
right?
thing
I think it's
do
again
want
another
to...
one of those Nick shows with very unique animation that if you again show one of the characters, people will be able to point them out. I'm going to keep saying this about a lot of shows because old Nick shows, a lot of them do this really well, and it's worth pointing out, right? But yeah. Go ahead.
One thing I do want to say that I found funny about this show is that I'm not sure if you remember, but there were series of video games where all the Nicktoons like come together. And in the fourth game, it's not just the heroes; it's the heroes and the villains. Like each show would have a hero representative and a villain representative that you could play as. and you had Zim and that kid, but the thing is that Zim would be with the heroes and the kid would be with the villain, even though character-wise it should be the opposite. But they do pull out a lot of jokes with the idea that the good guys with the bad guys, and the bad guy is with the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of good fun stuff with that.
Yeah. With that said, apparently Action League Now, which was Kablam, was its own show at one point. I didn't know about it, but I said everything I have to say about Action League Now in the Kablam section, so no need to
Yeah,
talk
this
about it
is
much.
another one that
Moving.
I didn't see
So moving
at
on
all.
to Chalk Zone, I didn't see this one.
You didn't see this one. Well, this is one that I
No.
actually watched a decent bit of, and I actually enjoyed.
Well,
Like, it's another
awesome.
This one's definitely more based on the comedy. It's definitely a lot of fun. It's basically a show where, this kid has a magic piece of chalk, and whenever he draws anything with it, it comes to life. And there's also this place called the Chalk Zone, and basically you go in there, and all sorts of fun shenanigans happen.
Okay.
And
Sounds cool.
fun.
I think I may have seen a
Definitely-
promo for this or something, but I never cut the show itself.
I think definitely some unique animation using like the idea of chalk, especially like when they go into the world, the chalk zone. You have a lot of different. Again, it's been a long while. Maybe I'm remembering this long, but it seems like my mind goes to there's some unique animation stuff there with the 3D animated stuff of the main 3D animated characters with the 2D animation of the chalk world, right? Like there's some interesting stuff going on there that I remember being interesting. It's been a long while though, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, that I think was the big draw of it, like a blend of 3D and 2D animation in an interesting way.
Cool. But the next show, I can guarantee you, I watched a lot. It's The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. I love this show. I recall like a friend of mine dragged me to see the movie. I saw the movie and I loved it, and then there was a show. I loved the show as well.
And a show that spawned a spin-off show.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't. I've seen a bit of
But
it.
let's talk about Jimmy Neutron first. I love this show.
Yeah.
Like I love the characters. I love the invention. I love the creativity. I just love everything about it. It's one of those shows that you can just give me a random episode to watch and I'll have a great time.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any there were some kind of meh episodes, but definitely a lot of fun. Like basically,
sure.
As the title suggests, it's the adventures of Jimmy Neutron, who's a boy genius. He's extremely smart and creates a lot of different inventions that generally tend to go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a formula that works though. It's a formula that finds a way to work because the inventions are creative.
I feel like it takes a bit from Hey Arnold,
If Hey Arnold was extreme in a sense, but
but there's definitely some similar ideas here, right? Like there's definitely you have this cast of kid characters who are memorable. You have the female character who likes our main male character, but is very much
hates him as well.
Yeah, like she likes him, but she pretends to hate him, even though she likes him. And
there was an episode actually. There was an episode Jimmy and Cindy, that's the girl's name. They switch minds in one episode, and Jimmy makes this invention that to kind of bring them back their personalities. And there's a point after the surgery, quote, where Cindy asks them, when our brains were together, did you feel like a picture of us going on the beach, holding hands and kissing? And he's like, yeah, I felt that, but it wasn't me. And well, it wasn't me. And they just start arguing who had that damn picture on their mind. You obviously want to bang each other when you grow up.
Wow, HC.
Kids show. You think I'm joking? You know that there's an episode where they go to the future and they actually do say that they are married. It happened at
I know.
one point.
Still, like, they weren't blatant about it. No need for you to be blatant about it, but sure,
Oh man,
okay.
I was they go
Subtlety,
future.
HC.
Yeah, okay. There was an episode they go back to they go to the future, and they found out that Jimmy and Cindy actually got married, and present Jimmy like screams at the top of his lungs, and then they cut to a commercial, and when they come back from the commercial, he's still screaming. And they actually mentioned he screamed for 4 minutes straight, real
Yeah,
time for the show.
they
That's
definitely broke.
amazing.
They definitely broke the fourth wall a lot in this show, I think. And there's also the
Uh,
big,
I
like,
I recall one time.
they also had the big, well, they did a lot in the Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossover, like when both of these shows
Yeah,
were really popular.
I like those.
Like they did like the big thing of, hey, here's a movie combining Jimmy Neutron and the Fairly Odd Parents, and it's actually really good. It's actually really fun.
Yeah,
And apparently
I
Cindy's
recall enjoying
really into Timmy.
Yeah, for some reason. And that's something that did kind of annoyed me with these crossovers, that these crossovers kind of show that Timmy does like Cindy, and he can potentially come and visit her whenever he wants. He can just wish for it. And but then in every episode, which is canon, the show the Fairly Odd Parents does say at one point that this crossover is canon, but afterwards he goes back to treat.
Yeah.
So what the hell happened there, Mr. Turner? But I do remember enjoying for what
Yeah,
it
like,
was. It did make sense to some, as much as you can. The Jimmy Neutron characters are 2D in the Fairly Odd Parents world, and the Fairly Odd Parents world characters are 3D in the Jimmy Neutron world. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff with it. Like it was very unique and fun, and it kind of took advantage of all that. It probably took a lot of work to do to like animate that differently, especially when the movie, I think, switched back and forth between the two different types of animation quite a bit. So I'm sure it took a lot of work, but it was definitely fun to see. And in general, like going back to the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, again, a fun show. I agree. Like a lot of different fun episodes, and you're not going to go wrong watching it.
Well, so
on.
Jim, one thing before we move on, I'm trying to think if there's any specific memory I have from Jimmy Neutron aside from being dragged to see the movie. Let me think if there's. Okay, I don't have anything, but great show. If you haven't watched it, watch.
Yeah.
Next, All Grown Up.
You're breaking up quite a bit.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I mean, it's in and out. Like sometimes you'll break up quite a bit, sometimes you won't. Like I can hear you, sure, but you're breaking up. Just to let you know.
Is it okay now?
For now, but again, like it might start again. It's just been on
Okay. Let's see how much this could hold.
All right.
So next up is All Grown Up.
This is basically the Rugrats, but teenagers.
Yeah, that's well, teenagers. I think it was
preteens, right? Like it's not elementary school. I know that. Like they're definitely like in middle school or high school, stuff like that. So it's them as teenagers.
It's I think considering that this is a cash, obviously, you could do a lot more.
Say again.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me try something. Is it okay now?
Maybe we'll see.
Okay.
Repeat again.
But I said that something that's obviously a cash grab. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. And again, I wasn't a big fan of the original, as I stated. So I didn't have much expectations with this one, but it was. I cut an episode or two. It was fun. I didn't feel like they did it for the sake of, hey, let's have the Rugrats grow up. They actually put thought in.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed it from what I watched of it too and what I remember, but it was definitely fun. I think I liked it more than the original Rugrats personally, and
Hmm.
I felt it ended like we never got really a lot with this. I think it only got like what a few episodes, not even a full season, or like not even it like one season at most, maybe, or something like that. It definitely wasn't a lot. I don't remember quite
Mhm.
exactly. Not very many episodes at all. But I remember liking
Okay.
like the designs and thinking everything about it was really cool and wanting to see more. And then it's just okay, it's done now. We're not doing any more of this. I'm like, would have been nice to have seen a bit more of this, but okay, sure, I
Mhm.
guess. Like yes,
Um, it's fine for what it is. That's it. Moving on. I don't have anything else to add on it.
okay, I'm wrong. This actually got 4 seasons. Wow, really?
I see five on my
Yeah,
list.
5 seasons, but wow, I thought it got way less than that. I don't know why. Was there like a
Yeah, I'm
thing they did
surprised.
and then came back to? I swear it wasn't that many episodes.
Well, I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm wrong. Moving
Um,
on though.
moving on to My Life as a Teenage Robot. Another one that I watched here and there, and I recall enjoying it when I watched it, but I don't really remember much of it.
Same here. Fun, but don't remember a ton of it. Like it was okay. I didn't hate it. But at this time, there was another show that came on very close to the same time as this one did that I think many more people, myself included, was way more interested in. So I think this
Danny
one,
Phantom.
yeah, I think this one just kind of
I
got.
love Danny Phantom so
Before
much.
we
It's
get to that one, hold your horses, HC. Let's not talk about Danny Phantom until we finish My Life as a Teenage Robot a little bit. I will say My Life
okay.
as a Teenage Robot, again, like I said, fun. I enjoyed it. Can't remember a lot about it because I did get into Danny Phantom. My Life as a Teenage Robot, I think if it wouldn't have been placed so close to Danny Phantom, probably would have done better on its own. A little bit
Mhm.
unfortunate, definitely worth the time to go back and watch, check it out. It's definitely fun. There you go.
Okay. Okay.
Moving on
So
to the show
moving
everyone
on to
probably wants to
Danny
hear about
Phantom.
and talk about, Danny Phantom.
I love this
One of the great
show.
Nicktoons. Another one by Butch
I
Hartman, too.
Yeah, like I love this show so much.
Yep.
I can't even describe to you how much I loved it, and I still think it holds up really
Oh,
well
yeah.
today.
Especially, yeah.
People say that the third season wasn't all that great, and it's like I don't know. I liked a lot of it. I liked
Yeah.
a lot of episodes in that season.
It's been a while, but yeah, I think I did too. Like, I remember watching a lot of this one and being really into it. And I think the third season was a bit darker, was it not? It's been a while.
Probably.
That,
But just love um, there are a lot of superheroes, and there's a kid with spider powers, there's a guy with a bat costume, but nobody really did a ghost themed superhero before this, and it was really cool to see like ghosts being not necessarily the souls of dead people, even though they kind of confirmed that all of these ghosts were actually alive at one point.
yeah.
Hell, Amber actually has a backstory in her theme song that implies that she was an actual nerdy teenage girl that died when her house burned down.
Hmm. Definitely probably a bit more darker when you start getting really deep into it.
But other than that, it was cool. I love the
Yeah.
villains in that show. The characters themselves are likable. Danny's powers are so cool. Like you have no idea. Like next to Spider-Man's web shooters, I always wanted to go intangible and invisible.
You absolute nerd.
Mhm. Well, judge me. I was fucking judge me. But yeah, even though there are some tropes in it, I do think they did the tropes fine. And again, I remember really enjoying a lot of the episodes. Again, it's one of those episodes that shows that you can just put on a random episode. I'll sit down, I'll watch it
Probably
happily.
one of the most catchy theme tunes in the world as well.
I think this is the only animated show that managed to do a rap theme song correctly.
Yeah. Possibly. Not sure, but definitely probably close to it, yeah. Especially at the time, at least, anyways.
Yeah.
Unless you count.
Um,
No, we're not. No. Never mind. I'm not going to bring that one up. No.
you know something you can actually you talked about dark. Can I talk about one of my favorite episodes, which
Sure.
is kinda the ultimate enemy, which is Danny meeting up, realizing that in the future, 10 years from that moment, he's going to become the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that
Due
episode
to
was
Vlad, if I'm not
so
mistaken,
good.
because Danny's
Yeah,
parents die.
Vlad has a like the thing is that Danny's parents and his sister and his two best friends are are killed by an explosion, and Danny is the sole survivor. So he goes to live with his arch nemesis, who is also Vlad Plasmius, and Danny asks Vlad to remove the ghost time from Danny, believing that will fix his problem. But when he does that, Danny Phantom separates the two Vlads, combines himself with Vlad Plasmius, and then he becomes evil, also killing his human.
Yeah. Definitely
This was
dark.
this was a fucked up episode, but
Yeah.
I love it for it.
Yeah, it was definitely really interesting. I think this was also a longer than normal episode too back then as well.
It was
Because
it was it was one of the four we did.
okay.
And yeah, I just remember loving that episode so much. Like when you start going over it in terms of time travel logic, there are some holes, but then again,
Oh sure.
I don't care. Actually, something interesting. There was a video game for the Game Boy Advance based on that episode, and in that, once you beat the main story that's based on the plot of the episode, if you load the save file, there's like an extra mode where Clockwork, the ghost of time that tells Danny that he's going to be evil, comes up to Danny and tells them that the avoiding the explosion apparently did nothing, and Danny would still become evil. And after you do some missions and everything, you find out Vlad actually has a backup plan for making Danny evil. And after you beat him, you are sure that Danny is going to have a future and won't become evil.
Probably not canon though, but anyways, because if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
in
it's
the
not.
show,
It's not canon. It's
that's
not
where
canon. But
Vlad and Danny finally come to see eye to eye somewhat.
Vlad does help because he does send them back to the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, great show. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. This is one of those shows that people claimed ended way earlier than it should have ended.
Yeah.
And there were even recently there were campaigns to bring this show back.
I don't think we should.
Yeah, and this was a show for
you
more
cut off there.
of this.
You're gonna have to repeat that. You cut
So,
off.
yeah, I accidentally touched it.
Ah.
So I would love to see this show return, but at the same time, for one, Butch Hartman is no longer at Nickelodeon, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think 3 seasons is a good enough run, and maybe it's good that it ended on a note of like, man, I wish there was more, instead of me just wishing it.
I mean, it ended in a good way, though, I feel, right? Like, it doesn't feel like it left too many things open, necessarily. Like, there's more you could potentially do with it, but it definitely feels like, okay, this is fairly closed off, right?
Yeah, that's something, though, that, an episode before the finale, one of the running plots is that there's this girl named Valerie who who has a personal vendetta against Danny Phantom. And like Vlad gives her a suit so she could chase him down, and then in the episode before the finale, like up to help her get him, and his one of his experience was like a cousin to Danny. And at the end, Valerie finds out, without Vlad knowing, that she finds out that Vlad is actually half ghost, and she promises to hunt him down. And that's never resolved because the finale doesn't even touch up on that. So it's like, you know what? If we had one more season, this could have been interesting.
Yeah.
But it happened. I'm glad it happened, and moving on.
Sure. I guess, yeah. Like, again, fun show. So yeah, moving on to the probably the most popular Nicktoons show that ever existed.
Water, earth, fire, and air.
Avatar:
Long
The
ago.
Last Airbender.
You know something? For one, I think you would agree with me that Avatar deserves of its own Outcast at one point.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to go over this, probably season by season and do a lot more with it. We've talked about it so much on the Berkcast and the Outcast. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting a hint for a future episode of the Outcast at some point, or future episodes of the Outcast at some point.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely
probably
going over Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So
And Korra.
I don't. Yeah, and Korra. But so because we'll do that, I don't want to talk too much about that show. Aside from, it's great. It's great. It's one of those rare instances that everything works perfectly with this show.
Like it'll definitely sound like, hey, this year two, huge fans talking about the show, but we're really not, right? Like, even if you're not a fan of the show,
there's a reason why we are fans, though.
Well, yeah, like there's
that
a reason
show
why we are fans. But
grabbed us.
What I'm about to say is somewhat hard to believe, but there are very few episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender that are genuinely just bad, right? There are weaker episodes, certainly, but even those weaker episodes feel really strong. Like, you look at this show and you see a consistent quality throughout every episode. There are definitely weaker episodes. I think the whole
there are weaker episodes.
Like, one weaker episode that comes to mind is the one where like we're in the Fire Nation and Katara dresses up as that ghostly lady to try and get that village to stop polluting the water.
Yeah,
right?
I get what you mean.
Like that one takes a more overt, like overall this show is very much like, hey, respect the environment, be better towards the environment, stuff like that. Like that's always in the background of the show. That episode was way more overt about it, and it's like it didn't really need that for this show, but it does work. It does fit.
I agree, but
it doesn't feel completely out of place. But yeah.
But again, because we are going to talk about this at one point, we love this show. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. You won't be disappointed. With that said,
without talking too much, that's literally all I can say. Go watch it. If you haven't, you've missed out. Absolutely.
Indeed. So next up is Cat Scratch. I have no idea what this is.
I don't either.
So moving on, the X's. I have no idea what this is.
Cat Scratch. I'm looking it up real quick. Oh, I've seen this one. Okay, Cat Scratch is an okay show. It's basically three-line cat brothers inherit a fortune, and it's them kind of living with that. It's kind of weirdish. It's kind of like these three cat brothers live in the human world and they inherited all this money, but to the humans I don't think they can talk, but to some humans they can talk. I don't remember. I've only seen a few episodes of Cat Scratch.
I have no idea what this is, so I'll take everything you say.
But the only reason I remember it is because I just looked it up and I get an image of the three cats. One of them looks, and I immediately remember the character designs. One of them is basically just this black cat that looks like a demon. The other one's, your standard very chubby white cat with one orange spot over his eye, and the other one essentially looks like a damn rabbit, and yet he's a cat. Or I think he is a rabbit in the show. He just pretends to be a cat, and everyone just accepts that he is a cat. I think that actually is the joke.
Okay.
I don't remember though, but yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
You could do worse.
Okay, so the X's again. I have no idea what this.
This is one that I think I've seen. I'm gonna do a quick Google search.
While you do that,
Yes,
I'll
I've
also
seen a bit of this
say
one. This
that
one's
the
kind of. Do you remember the penguins of Madagascar? Do you remember that?
yeah, we'll get to it
This is
probably.
kind of like that, but before it, it's basically just a big old spy family. They're all spies and they all do spy things. Moving
Okay.
on.
Mr. Meaty. Again, notice a pattern? I haven't heard of this.
This one I've not heard of
I
either.
Okay, so
I've heard of it and I've seen a little bit of it looking at it now, but I have no familiarity
but
with this one whatsoever.
moving on to something I have no idea if you El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. I remember watching this show and liking it.
Yeah, I remember this one as well. I remember watching the show and liking it. It was very, yeah, it's very. Okay.
It's a very cool concept.
Yeah.
It's a very cool concept of like a kid who his father was the greatest superhero of all time. His grandfather is the biggest supervillain of all time. What is he gonna do? That's great.
Like it's him. It's kind of his journey of like, does he become a supervillain? Does he become a superhero? And it's very much he's torn between the two, and he gets influenced by his father and his grandfather all the time because they both live together, and it's like, and you can hear his father and his grandfather get into it and fight from time to time about being a supervillain is better and being a superhero is better, and it's just all back and forth. But it's basically like following his adventures of going to school and learning to be a superhero or a supervillain because the school doesn't care what you become. They're just here to teach you.
This is something that but the series, either the first season or series finale, where it kind of gave the audience a chance to choose if they want them to be a hero or a villain, and the viewers chose hero. But if you chose villain, I saw that on the Nickelodeon site. The villain ending is hilarious. Hilarious.
I don't think I ever got to watch the ending of this show. I'd have to check that out.
So I'm sure it's on YouTube. Check out
it is a bit of a unique thing of giving the audience the chance to choose which ending they want, though. That's kind of a little.
So
unique
I
thing.
think I think if you look like El Tigre bad ending or something or villain ending, you will most likely find it. It's not even a storyboard. It's fully animated, fully voiced.
That's
everything.
Really neat. That's really a neat idea, and it's really neat that Nickelodeon let them do that too. I'm surprised by that. Like creating an ending that maybe some people won't see. But yeah, this was definitely a fun show, and it's very. If you haven't figured it out, it's very much based in kind of Mexican tradition and Mexican themes and culture, right? Like it's huge Mexican culture stuff because again, that's what it's all based around. It's really neat to get to see all of that.
Also El Tigre, like El Tigre means the tiger.
Yeah. In Spanish, yeah. But yeah, like it's very interesting because of that alone, right? Like that was very unique at the time, especially for me because I hadn't seen a lot of stuff that was very much based in Spanish tradition and a lot of Spanish myth and culture, right? Like that was very unique to see.
Yeah. So moving on, Tak and the Power of Juju. Please tell me you know this.
Yes, I do. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Now, let me ask you another question. Do you know it from the show, or do you know that this show is based on a video game?
Yes, I know the show is based on a game for the GameCube that came out, and no, I didn't play the game. The game looked okay. Never got into it myself.
You know that there are 2 sequels to that game, right?
Yes. I've only seen the first one, though.
Okay. So I'm the opposite. I own and played the second and third. I've never played the first.
Neat.
But yeah, the games were really fun. And I was so surprised that they made a show out of this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Nickelodeon, I'll buy. Let's see what you got. And the show, it's not that good.
No, it's not. It even looks pretty bad too.
To be honest, they tried their best probably with the budget they have to replicate the game's look.
Yeah.
I'll even argue they took the models from the games for the characters that came from the games, as opposed to like 90% of the characters who are in the game. I'm looking at that annoying love interest kinda. This was a show.
Yeah, it was a thing that exists. I guess you could do worse than this, but honestly, I think you're better spent off watching some of the other Nicktoons on this list.
And
This one's not
you know
great.
what said?
There's
You know what said
nothing
that
here to write
from
home about.
yeah,
Nothing.
and the sad thing about this is that there was actually a fourth track game, and it was and all of a sudden they started adapting the show's continuity, which is
Ugh.
annoying.
Not a great show though. It's that's all there is to say. Like you're way
It's
better off watching other
it's
stuff on
kind of
this list.
you know, I'll maybe refer to it as a guilty pleasure, but even as guilty pleasures go, this is a no.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all you can say. It's not great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we might need to wrap up soon because I have some
Well, I
things
mean,
to
there's
do.
enough shows left.
But
How about
yeah, but
if you want to do a few more, we can do a few more and then save the rest for another episode of coming back to look at old Nick cartoons.
Yeah, we could do that. But so just to talk about, because I'm starting to see this is starting to become that area where I've started skipping a lot of the shows, or just didn't see them. But you know, Penguins of Madagascar, I did see.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
We're gonna go down the list properly, HC. You can't skip
Okay.
around. If we don't have enough time for it, we'll just make the audience wait for a second episode. So there. Now you have to watch another episode that we'll do in the future. You're welcome.
Fair enough.
Content.
Fair enough. Back at the barnyard. Haven't seen it.
I did. I watched this one quite a bit with my mom. My mom really enjoyed this show. She found it hilarious. She really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Don't know why, but it was her thing. I watched it a lot with her. I had fun watching it with her. That's the only reason it really sticks on my mind, and I remember it well. And it was fun. It, again, it's basically just the adventures of some barnyard animals doing wacky, silly shenanigans and having fun. That's it. Yay.
Okay.
Fun. That's
The Mighty Bee. Haven't watched that either.
The Mighty Bee, I've seen some of. I never personally got into it. Wasn't really my thing. Basically just follows a girl and her adventure to get Girl Scout badges, except they're in this Bee Scout thing. Whatever, I don't remember. It was okay.
Nice. Okay. Making Friends. No, Making Fiends. Sorry.
No idea.
Am I going to sound like a broken record and no idea what this is as well?
Well, here's the one where I say I have no idea also. None whatsoever. The next one as well, no idea also. None whatsoever.
Rugrats, I had no idea this existed. And
I didn't either.
Enough.
I've got
okay.
Nothing.
Sure. Well, would you look at that? The Penguin Madagascar didn't take us long to catch up. It's fine.
Gotta go down the list in order. Penguins of Madagascar, I actually kind of enjoyed. I liked what's her name? The otter's name. What's her name?
I have
no idea. The otter character.
One of the new characters they made for the show.
Yes, I liked her a lot. Okay, that's the only thing I remember about this show is the otter character. She was cute and adorable, and I liked her. That's about the only thing.
Okay. Well, Fanboy and Chum Chum, I know of it. I haven't seen it. It looks annoying, personally.
I saw some of it, and you're kind of right. It kind of was annoying. I didn't really like it or enjoy it at all. It just wasn't for me, I guess, maybe. If you enjoyed it and liked it, fair enough. Have fun with it. Wasn't for me. I kind of agree with HC. It definitely came off as annoying and kind of meh.
So moving on to Planet Sheen, the spin-off to Jimmy Neutron. I only saw one part of this show, which is like Sheen meets an alien that looks like Carl. And he has a flashback to Carl, which pretty much implies that Sheen had the house for him. And also, there's a point where Sheen and Carl are just spinning around Jimmy Neutron's backyard. And then Sheen accidentally throws Carl into the sky, where a plane comes by and runs straight into Carl. That's all I know about this show. That's the only thing I needed to know about this show. Thank you. Not for me.
This one's also kind of like Fanboy and Chum Chum, kind of obnoxious, kind of annoying, I felt. Like it wasn't my thing. I don't know why they, of all people, decided to say, hey, this character, Sheen from Jimmy Neutron, everyone loves him. Let's give him his own
Like,
show.
yeah, I like him, but
Yeah,
not as
no.
the main character.
Like, he was kind of annoying in the show he was already in. Putting him as the main character basically just amps up everything that was annoying about him, and it's not fun. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
No, not really. It's just, no. That's all I can say.
So
Not fun.
next up,
Tough puppy.
in another Butch Hartman show, and another one I haven't.
This one I liked a bit. Like, it's definitely, I don't think it's one of his best works, personally. But
I think people say
didn't
that
hate
this
it.
is where he started to touch.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I would say this was probably the place where he started to. I would agree with that. And it's okay for what it is, but it's not my favorite thing. Like, I think if I had to pick some of his Nick shows, I would definitely go with Danny Phantom over this.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, Winx Club. Guess what I'm going to say? You're right. I haven't seen this as well.
I saw a bit of this one. It was okay. Kind of Sailor Moonish, I thought.
7 seasons. Holy fuck.
They
That's
got
a
7
lot.
seasons? Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was way less popular than that. It's alright. Nothing. Again, I can't see too much on it. Maybe, for who got into it and they really enjoyed it, maybe it was the most amazing thing ever. I don't really know. I didn't really get into it all that much. I do remember thinking, this seems kind of Sailor Moonish. Cool. Okay, then.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. Kung Fu Panda, Legends of. I love and adore movies. The show, the few episodes I've seen didn't do it for me.
It's
Sorry.
definitely more aimed at kids, I feel. Like, this is definitely aimed at younger kids more than anything else. Like, it definitely doesn't take the theme or tone of the show, of the movies, hardly at all. Like, there's a few moments there that I think really shine out in this one, but that's just
I will say
that
that the theme song though is awesome.
I mean, it's Jack Black that sings it.
No, it's not.
It's not. Oh, I thought it was. It's been a while.
No, it's actually that's one thing I'll compliment, that the Jack Black replacement is great, but it's
Jack
not
Black
him.
doesn't VA in this?
No.
I thought he did. I was wrong.
Okay, moving on. The Legend of Korra. Like we said with the Avatar, we are definitely going to do an Outcast about this at one point.
Great show. Great first season.
Great
even
show.
People say the first season is kind of meh. Great second season, also really enjoyable. Third season,
I'll disagree with you there. The second one is the weakest in my opinion, but that's another. But that's for another day. But
a lot of fun though.
One thing I will say, it's despite what people will tell you, it is a great continuation, and there's a lot of great moments in it.
Absolutely.
Not as good as Aang, but it's good still.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree, 100%. You cannot go wrong with watching The Legend of Korra. More Avatar, you cannot go wrong with more Avatar. Moving on, Robot and Monster.
I have no idea what this is.
I've seen the character before. No clue what it is, though. So I can't say anything about this one. No idea.
Okay. Next up, here's something I do know. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Shell to the power.
I guess we can't say too much about this one either, because this is one you also want to do an Outcast on.
Yeah,
we'll probably be doing an Outcast on very soon, because HC's been on me to watch this for a while now.
Yeah, this is something I really want Wolf to check out, because I really want to talk about this show. This is as a big Ninja Turtles fan, this is my favorite incarnation of the Turtles. And we will go all over it and how great I think it is once we start covering it season by season.
Well, hopefully then next week I'll definitely sit down and watch it, and we can cover it next week. So they've said it on the show, I have to. So now I have a reason to. I've said it on the show that I was going to.
So get on it, buddy. Get on it.
Now, if you're going to say something like that, no, I don't want to.
Well, whatever.
Moving on. Monsters
but we will
aliens.
get to it.
Yeah, we definitely get to it and talk more about it then.
Monsters versus Aliens. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't have. So I haven't watched the show as well, so I don't have much to say.
Also, it's kind of telling that looking at this list barely has anything wrote for it either, other than just saying
Yeah.
an American computer
Yeah,
animated
nothing
television
here is
series
like.
based on the 2009 film of the same name. That's literally it. Like, wow. I guess a lot of other
I
people haven't
I
watched it either.
yeah,
Yee,
like
that
I
doesn't
will
bode
admit,
well.
like everything else remaining on this list, like which is not a lot, I haven't seen or even heard of.
Well, I mean, we're getting into the thing now where I think a lot of us kind of left Nicktoon because Nicktoon became, at this point, right? Like, once we're getting into the next one up on the list is Sanjay and Craig, and kind of at this point, you're getting into the 2016 to now era. And a lot of the cartoons at this point for me became things where, yeah, I'm just not into it. And Sanjay and Craig is one of them. I didn't find it fun. I didn't find it enjoyable. Saw an episode or two. I felt like there were older Nicktoons that did the same thing, but better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'll take your word for it.
that's it. Moving on, Breadwinners. Have you heard of it?
Uh, like I said, this is the territory where I haven't heard about it, let alone seen anything. So I don't
Breadwinners.
know any. I have no idea what anything that's coming up after this is.
Breadwinners, I have no idea about either, unfortunately. Sorry if you enjoyed the next couple of shows coming up. But Breadwinners, Harvey Beaks, Pig, Goat, Banana Cricket is another show I don't know anything about. Bunsen is a Beast. Looking through real quick. This is another show that I have very little knowledge of. Welcome to the Wayne. Yeah, another show I have zero knowledge of. And The Adventures of Kid Danger, our final episode on this list. Another show I have zero knowledge of.
Well, we've gone through all of the list, and I think some.
Do what? Repeat that again, please.
Well, like I said, we gone through all of the shows, but I still think something's missing.
Ah, whatever could that be? I wonder. It's the show that we decided to mention till the very end.
Actually, before we talk about this,
I
what
had
can you ask
completely
me?
forgotten about it.
Yeah, can but before we talk about it, it's a very scientific question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
I think it starts with a P, ends with an R. Maybe Patrick Star. Is that it? Starfish.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Exactly. That's exactly that.
SpongeBob SquarePants, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you knew this was coming, and we just decided to troll you, and we'll keep it until the end because it's SpongeBob. You all know SpongeBob. I don't think there's a person in this world that doesn't know who SpongeBob is.
And surprisingly,
So,
somehow SpongeBob is still going after all this time and going very strong at that.
on that note, I do want to say, even though it's been a month, then like Steven Hillenberg, wherever you are, thank you for this show because this show was a big part of my life when it first came.
I think a lot of people can say that. Like, it's been a big part of so many people's lives, and just really, it's just a huge thing. Like, it's got.
Yeah, because this is a show that I can tell you, I watched it with friends, I watched it with my mom, I watched it with my cousins. I could tell you that, like, I watched it with pretty much a lot of people, even co-workers at one point. And it's just a great show. At least the first 4 seasons and the first movie are great. Everything else, there are some diamonds in the rough. I'm not going to say that no.
I've heard it's gotten better. Like, it
Yeah,
had its low point, and then it's gotten way better and improved a lot.
Oh,
right?
dude, there's an episode where Patrick admits he's stupid on purpose.
It has its moments even now. Like any show that's going on for 12 seasons. Like,
with more to come. Like, this is not slowing down.
This is not done yet. This is still going, and probably will be going for a long, long time. Because, again, it's just very popular, and a lot of people care and love these characters.
Yeah, and despite not liking some of the newer episodes, the old episodes are something that's very dear to my heart. And again, I still quote SpongeBob on occasion. This is like a very quotable show, a very meme-worthy show.
Absolutely.
But it's also smart about it, which I think is what makes it
Yeah.
very great show. I have nothing to
It's
say. There's a reason why this guy is now one of the most popular cartoon characters of all time. Like again, there's no one who doesn't know who SpongeBob SquarePants is, even if you haven't seen the show. You know who SpongeBob is.
mhm.
So with that said, I think we covered everything.
There's definitely some like there's definitely like new shows coming up on Nick that we've not covered that we really can't cover
Yeah,
because we've
but
not seen.
we
They've not even
can't.
been released
The
yet.
one thing I'll say, though about SpongeBob is that apparently they're making a spin-off of like a SpongeBob in kindergarten,
Hmm.
and apparently one of the three roles that Steven Hillenberg wanted regarding SpongeBob is that SpongeBob will never get his license. We will never know anything about Pearl's mom, and there will be no spin-offs. And Nickelodeon greenlighting a spin-off after the creator died is very, very,
Yeah.
and even the head of SpongeBob who took over from Steven Hillenberg and back when he was alive said that this is just a terrible move on their part, and I have to agree. This is
Yeah.
just
It kind of sucks for that because it's probably going to be like not a lot of people are going to like that show and they're going to look at it very unfavorably and poorly, even if it is a good show, which is a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, it does make it's very kind of scummy, right? Like hey, after he dies, that's when they decide to do this. Very scummy on your part. But
on that note.
but on
On
that
that
note,
note,
there are.
Battle for Bikini Bottom remaster. Now that I was waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, if you're a fan of SpongeBob, play Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's a great.
Okay. Anyways, like there are also some acquired shows that Nickelodeon airs. I think mostly in the U.S. I don't know if they air them elsewhere. I think they might be owned by other companies or
Like
production airing
for the
companies.
longest time, we aired Johnny Nickelodeon.
Do what?
For the longest time, there was a show called Johnny Test. It was either on
Mm-hmm.
Cartoon Network
That's
or
Cartoon Network.
uh, yeah. So we aired it on Nickelodeon.
Weird, huh? But one of the big ones, like I don't know, like people probably associate with Nickelodeon. We haven't mentioned it. Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir.
Oh, I know it's this actually.
What?
I know this is from Disney.
Really? Because it's aired Nickelodeon over here in the
Oh, so we
U.S.
got it at Disney.
That's really strange how you got it on Disney and we got it on Nickelodeon. Really, that's weird. That's what I'm saying. Like acquired shows, like when a company acquires the show, it's definitely going to be different for every single country. Just about. I'm sure you'll probably hear someone else who said, "Huh, that's weird. Miraculous was a Cartoon Network thing where I live," and I'm like, "Huh, cool, I guess." So it's owned by everyone.
Here's the thing.
Yay!
I don't really show. So
It is what it is, right? Like I just figured I would mention it for those who probably like, "What about Miraculous?" That's a great show.
okay,
Like it is. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
fair enough.
It's been mentioned.
So
I know if Rush was here, he would definitely be jumping all up and
so
down
with
about
that,
Miraculous. So,
yeah. By the way, he still didn't say thanks on the fact that I went out of my Miraculous Ladybug for his birthday. So yeah. Anyway, this Outcast about Nickelodeon shows. We hope you enjoyed it. What is your favorite Nicktoon? What is the show that we mentioned we didn't see?
I guess we should definitely be ending
Or
right
is
now
there an
because the
episode?
audience cannot hear HC at all because he's breaking up that badly.
Damn it.
So, that's been all for the Outcast, ladies and gentlemen. I get to do the outro for this one because you can barely hear HC. If you've enjoyed, let us know in the comments below. Tell us what you think about different old Nickelodeon animated shows.
What is your favorite Nicktoon? Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do an out about it. And we also already teased stuff that we have planned.
Yeah,
So
3 of
with
them,
all that,
at least.
Yeah. So with all that said, I was HC.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.